Ignite to impact.
You're listening to Ignite to Impact, a podcast to educate and inspire positive, meaningful change within ourselves and in others. I'm Dr. Geneva, leadership coach, author, and the Vibrant Life Architect, helping women over 50 design their next best life. We sit down with influencers to find out how they do what they do to make an impact. I'm so delighted and inspired before we even have a conversation to talk with DeLores Pressley, who's an international keynote speaker, an author, a life coach. She's got more than 30 years of experience, and she does many things. The one thing that I'm particularly impressed with is that she founded She Elevates, which is a nonprofit organization created to empower young girls to become entrepreneurs and CEOs. In other words, that girl power take over the world. She's the author of Clean Out the Closets of Your Life, Believe in the Empowerment of You, and co-author of Oh Yes You Can. And she's spoken, there's accolades galore about her. In particular, she was the 2016 recipient of the Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award from President Barack Obama. So you see why I'm just thrilled to talk to her and hear her story on Ignite to Impact, because her story has been told in Glamour Magazine, The Washington Post, Black Enterprise, Essence, Ebony, and Entertainment Tonight and Oprah. So, hey, you see why I'm excited. Say hello to DeLores Pressley. How you doing?
I am excited to be interviewed by you, Dr. Geneva, and you said girl power. I'm all about that, so I know I love you already.
All right. Well, why don't we start there? What is girl power to you, and how do you make that happen?
I think girl power is having the confidence to do what it is that you want to do in your life and not bowing down because you are a girl. Dr. Geneva, I remember I felt like I was a leader when I was a little girl, yet society said, oh, she's so bossy. She's so bossy. But have you ever heard them say that a young man who's a leader, have they ever called him bossy? No, he's a leader. So I say we need to take our power. And I think as a little girl, I took over my power because I have a story of wanting to be a ballerina. They wouldn't let me be a ballerina because they told my mother I was too fat. And I probably was about 6 years old then. Okay. So I think I just took my girl power at age 6.
Yes, I love it. I love it. And you're continuing that girl power feeling and movement today.
I am. And God has taken me full circle. I was an elementary school teacher, but even while I was an elementary school teacher, I believed in owning a business. So I started one of the first model agencies like 35, 40 years ago for plus-size women. And I love that you're doing this empowerment for women over 50 because dreams don't come with age limits. A lot of women feel like, oh, I'm over 50, I can't. No, dreams do not have expiration dates, so don't throw them away. So my dream was to be a plus-size model, but it wasn't really heard of back then. So I ended up starting a modeling agency for 18 years for plus-size women, still teaching school all of this time, being radio personality, TV, all of this while teaching school. And I love children, but when I decided to become a professional speaker, I did not tell them that my clients that I was a teacher, and I was not ashamed of being a teacher. I just wanted my clients to know that I was very serious about being a keynote speaker. So I did that with the girls, teaching still. I spoken all over the world. I mean, London, England, Turks and Caicos. I spoke for the government. I've just spoken all over the world. But as I was doing that, God was speaking to me. I had retired from being a teacher. I've been retired almost 15 years. But at the same time, I still was doing all these different things. Mm-hmm. And he said, I want you to start a program for little girls entitled She Elevates. And I was like, no. And you do not say no to God, by the way.
That's right.
But I just was like, no. When I retired and when I was out being a keynote speaker, it was always for corporate and all the programs for women out there that were in the corporations. I just felt like I was to empower them. So he gave me the idea like 3 years ago. He spoke to me very firmly again, and I was speaking in Florida, and I remember it so clearly. And I was sitting in the audience, and someone else was speaking. And then I just started crying. I'm like, okay, God, I will. Mm-hmm. And then that's how She Elevates was birthed. Oh, and goodness. We are empowering little girls to become entrepreneurs and CEOs.
And so how do you do that, DeLores? How do you empower young girls to be leaders, CEOs, and start their own businesses?
Sure. We have to start teaching them when they're little. My friend just sent me a video. She was had her 3-year-old grandson in the kitchen cooking and saying he was talking about a business, and that's 3 years old. But how we started with She Elevates, we started with vision booking, which one of our board members, it's sort of like vision boarding, but the little girls created books. Then we did another event, and we're just kind of getting people acclimated to being empowered. So I came up with another event that was so successful. It was called Confidence, Cupcakes, and Conversation. And we let really women could come, all ages, and girls. But we're starting our academy now. So this is how we're going to train the girls. We have an academy for 4 weeks. And we teach them all sorts of things. First of all, confidence, because you really have to know about confidence and who you are. So we'll spend a lot of time doing that. And then we will have them build a lean business model and give them all kind of examples of what a business is. And we'll also have women who we call sheroes that own a business, or they're a CEO or an upper level management in their company, talk to the girls as well. We'll teach them marketing. We'll have them create their own business, and then they can pitch the business to us, and then we plan on giving them some kind of seed funding to start their business for the top. We have 2 different age groups, ages 8 to 11 and 12 to 14. We're going to give each one of those groups funding for their business.
Oh, that sounds phenomenal, particularly that aspect of providing that capital or seed money to these young girls to get their businesses off the ground, because for women in general who are in business, that is such a big challenge. So you're starting them off young with giving them that extra boost.
Being in business is not easy. People think that when I coach women who want to be speakers or women who want to start a business, I'll tell them it's not for the faint at heart. And some of my clients, they'll call initially and they'll say, I'm going to quit my job. I've got this idea. And I'm like, yeah, that's great, but you need funding. And if you are working a full-time business, I'd say you should at least have 50% of whatever your salary is saved to start a business, because it takes a lot of money to run a business.
Yes. So now, DeLores, you're still doing your speaking as well as okay. So you're balancing both. So in other words, you haven't retired.
Oh, well, I don't even know what that is.
Right. See, that's my girl. See, that's why we kindred spirits. I know. I don't even. I tell people say, haven't you retired yet? Because I just celebrated my 70th birthday a couple months ago. And so people say to me all the time, well, they used to say it all the time. They don't now because they see what I'm out there doing. But they used to say to me, haven't you retired yet? I said, listen, I retired for about 10 minutes, decided I didn't like it, and figured out I was going to, continue to find my most vibrant life. So tell us about what you're doing and how balancing and doing all this is making your, I hear it in your voice that you're loving what you do. So tell us about it. What's a typical day look like for you?
Sure. So now I am spending a lot of my time for She Elevates, and so I'm in the office. I get up early and go to the office. But what I want women to know, and men and everyone, you really can live the life that you want. And I've already talked about dreams not having age limits, because they do not. So I would say that I spend maybe 40% of my time with speaking now. So I spoke up like a month ago at Ford Motor Company, so I still do that. And I also have been called to the ministry, so I don't do that as much as I know I need to. And I've been now being asked to speak at churches and women's conferences. And it's funny because you have to be very careful when you are speaking for corporate. You cannot bring out your godly and spiritual, whatever your thoughts and beliefs are. You cannot do that. But at the Ford Motor Company, the last time I went, I was just like, you have to be the woman who God called you to be.
Yes.
And they applauded. But you have to be very careful. I was like, okay, here I am. I'm not going to be able to come back. But yeah, I just truly believe that you can do anything you want. And I have an acronym for DCAF that I'd like to share with your audience.
Please.
It's pretty simple. It's all about, it's not the decaf that we drink, but D stands for make a decision. Decide what it is that you want to do. Decide that. Because so many people, they vacillate. They don't know what they're doing. They don't know. Sit down and decide what you want.
Okay.
And then be empowered. Being empowered means, what kind of materials are you reading? What are you watching? What are you looking at on social media? So D, E, and then C, commit. Be committed. Once you've decided what you want, you're empowering yourself to be able to do it, and then commit to it. So I was doing, Dr. Geneva, all these different things. I was speaking, I was a teacher, I was a radio host, I was all of that, and then I decided that I wanted to be a keynote speaker. So that is where I spent my energies for the last 20 years of being a keynote speaker. And A, action. People talk all the time, but if you just talk and don't put any action behind whatever you decided to do, it won't work. And your F is focus. Focus.
Yes, focus.
Focus and follow through. Your fortune is in the follow through. How many times do people say, I'm going to start this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to call you, you meet someone at a networking event, you get their card, they give it to you, theirs, and you don't even follow up on it. So remember, use the power of decaf to become successful.
The power of decaf. I love it. I love it. I love it. And for all you coffee drinkers out there who are listeners, that DECAF is phenomenal. I want to go back to the C, the commit, because you talked about that in relationship to when you decided to commit to be a keynote speaker. Do you have some secrets you could share with us that led to your successful career as a keynote speaker?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, you cannot speak on every topic. Many speakers make that mistake. So if someone calls me about speaking on branding, I refer that to my colleagues. But there are people who are like, okay, you want me to speak on branding? You want me to speak on marketing? You want me to speak on motivation? They'll do it all. So I say, stop, there's that F word, and focus. And find your target market. So I was known for confidence, so really empowering women to be confident. So when someone wanted their audience to be confident, they knew to call DeLores for that. So that would be my number one tip. You cannot speak on everything. You cannot.
That's a great one. And so as people thought about confidence, they thought about you.
Absolutely. I don't want them to think about anyone else. So I want my brand to be so tight that when they hear the word confidence, they know, oh, that's DeLores' field. Call her.
That's phenomenal. So tell me, DeLores, tell me about that day that you found out that you were going to be the recipient of the Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award from President Barack Obama. I want you to take us to that day. Okay?
Oh, my goodness. I ended up getting it in Atlanta, but just the thought of, and I had that plaque, of course, on in my office above my, just the thought of President Barack Obama signing my documents and recognizing me. That was a wonderful moment in my life. I'll tell you, the top moments in my life. Number one, marrying my husband. And by the way, in about a couple weeks, we'll be married 40 years.
Oh, congratulations. Oh, how wonderful.
That was so good. And the second one was being a guest on the Oprah Winfrey Show.
That was pretty good.
And then getting the award from the President of the United States. Those are some top things.
Top things.
Okay.
So I want to hear about that day. How'd you find out? How'd you feel about the...
Call.
Yes, go ahead.
They gave me a call on the phone, and then I live in Ohio, but they said, we're honoring you, and you had to have an application. So we went through the application process, and I was on pins and needles, wondering if I would be the one to receive it. And then when they literally picked up the phone and called me, and then, oh my goodness, I was so excited. I started screaming, telling my husband, and got my tickets, got family members to come to Atlanta and receive that award.
How wonderful. And you got the award for?
Just community service for all of the things that I have done to support my community. And so I'm all about supporting.
And being that influencer that you are.
Yes, they say I am.
Yes. And creating that impact.
Yes.
So,
for sure, Dr. Geneva.
So when you were on the Oprah Winfrey Show, for example, what you talk about?
It was funny because when I went to Oprah, I had sent my book. One of my second books is Clean Out the Closets of Your Life, and I had sent it, but they didn't talk about it at all. And at the time that I was on Oprah, I was a teacher, and they told me they wanted me to talk about teaching in America. So I was prepared to talk about teaching in America, but it wasn't that at all. And they can go see it, of course, the footage on my website, DeLoresPressley.com. But when I got there, it was her favorite things show, and I didn't have any idea. So I got nearly $25,000 worth of gifts. But it got better. I don't know how it could get better, but it did. Oprah decided that she wanted to use me and myself and her picture all over to promote that show. So the next morning, Dr. Geneva, my face and Oprah was on the Today Show, Good Morning America. That night, David Letterman. It just was so unbelievable. It was. And even my company, remember, I had a modeling agency and all that.
Yes.
One of the clients that I had been trying to get sponsorship from called my home, don't even know how they got my home, seeing me on Oprah, and gave me a $25,000 sponsorship.
Oh, my goodness.
So when they say the Midas touch, it doesn't have anything on the Oprah touch.
Right. And so you went on her show as part of her favorite things?
Yes. So she had a surprise show for teachers, and she gave teachers all these gifts.
I see.
And then, there's a lot of footage. You'll have to go to my website.
Oh, my goodness. How wonderful.
We were laughing. And even before that, Dr. Geneva, I need to tell your audience and teach them about the power of really visualizing things. I really believe in the power of that. I would visualize. And when you are visualizing something, you don't want to look on the outside and see yourself. But I really would visualize myself sitting on Oprah's couch, laughing. I could see my black jacket. Well, I had a red jacket. Yes, there was a red jacket, black skirt. I would see all this, and I would talk about it as if I had already been on. So I'd get on the stage and say I'm on Oprah, and people would be like, "What? When were you on Oprah?" And really, I wasn't. But you want to talk about things in the present. So you don't want to say, if you want to go on the Oprah show, you don't want to say, I will be on Oprah. You say, I am on Oprah.
I am on Oprah.
So I use the power of affirmations. I call them faith-amations because I use my faith plus affirm it and make it happen. So people were laughing. You live in Canton, Ohio. You're not going to get on the Oprah Winfrey show. And I know the power of visualization, and I know the power of faith-amations. And the rest is history.
Yes, and I'm sure this is part of what you pass on and teach about with your young girls, and as you help them become entrepreneurs and CEOs.
Yes, I teach that to everyone. I teach that to everyone. I have a gift, and it's just a gift that I can have someone come to me. They don't believe that they can do it at all. Like, they don't believe they can write a book, or they don't believe they can be on television. And somehow I have a gift to help people to take their beliefs way beyond what they believe they can do and do it. Back to that action. You must take action. So that's a gift that I have. Some people say, I can't do that. I can't. I'm like, well, absolutely you can. You absolutely can.
Absolutely. I just love your spirit and love hearing about that, and it just, again, we're kindred spirits here. I can just tell. Much of my life in the past, really the past 3 years, has been about trying to redefine and reimagine and create that vision. And when you say that dreams have no age limit, that's the space that I've been in, because I was, for 40 plus years, career, marriage, a 40-year marriage, career, marriage, successful, award-winning executive, all those things. But life changed, not only after I became, over 50, but when I lost my husband, my mom, and my dad, all within a very short period of time, within months of each other, and really had to reimagine life. And so now I'm very passionate about and dedicated to inspiring and educating women about living our next best, most vibrant life, and how at various stages in life, particularly after 50, that we have to think about vision and what it looks like next, and how do we reimagine, because we ain't done yet.
That's right. I love it. I love it.
We just ain't done yet. And you are such a role model for that. And then here's what you do that I particularly love. So you obviously feel good, and you talk about how people can feel good and their mental health and how they have to be positive and have that confidence. You look good. You're out there, you're doing it, the confidence is just oozing out, and you help women learn how to do that. And then you do good, because you could stop with your successful career. You could stop, since you won a Lifetime Achievement Award from the president. You could have stopped, but you didn't. You said, I am going to reach back and help young women. Teach them what I know. Didn't you do that?
Yes, I absolutely did, and didn't really think I would be working with children. But there is a quote by Chuck Palahniuk, and it says, "We all die. The goal is not to live forever, but to create something that will." So I think She Elevates is going to be something that will live forever. It will live long past DeLores, and it will make a difference in this world. And I truly believe that, not just Canton, Ohio, but in the world.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I just love it. I got chills. Yes, yes. And you know, that's what you just said. I just think that's what gives life meaning. I often talk about the horizontal stroke, that dash between the year that we're born and the year that we pass away. And we all have the two bookends, when we're born and when we pass away, in common. That's in common. We all have that. But it's what we do with that horizontal stroke, that dash in the middle, that makes life, I believe, meaningful. And that's the purpose, and makes us unique. And you have, you've put in place something that's going to live forever. So tell me, what's next? What's next up for you?
This is next. She elevates, because I was reading some statistics, and some people think that my target market is young girls, but I've decided that my target market is definitely going to be corporations who empower women, because our girls need to be able to be CEOs. Our girls need to know that they can create their own, that they can own their own businesses. As I'm studying and researching for She Elevates, which is sheelevates.org, by the way. But anyway, the Fortune 500 companies, out of all of the Fortune 500 companies, Dr. Geneva, there are only 24 women who are CEOs. Now, out of 500, 24. That's in 2018. And in 2017, there were 32. So what is going on our earth that we don't have women leading? And so I'm going to make sure these little girls have a pipeline to become future entrepreneurs and future CEOs and change the gender gap, because it's much, much too wide.
So your theory of change is, I think, as I'm hearing, what you're saying is that in corporations and places of business, that's where the impact can happen to get women along this path, so that you're targeting those corporations so they know how they need to open these doors and what the endless possibilities are for young girls and how they need to change.
Absolutely. And that we're going to build and create and develop girls that can work for their companies and can be CEOs or can start their own business. So this is a long process. It's not something that it's going to happen overnight, although we are having girls that are going to start their own businesses. And matter of fact, we honored women, and a young lady named Madeline, she is our rising star, and she owns her own business, and she's CEO, and she's only 11. So,
I love it. 11.
I think she's 9. I think I messed that up.
Oh, my goodness.
She's 11.
She's even younger. Oh, my goodness.
Yes. So it can happen, and it will happen.
And you can that legacy in action. Oh, my goodness. And you know, the other part of, and I just love so much about She Elevates and the work that you're doing. The other part that I think you're doing is putting, reality to the fact that seeing is believing. If young girls see what they can do, if they can touch it, they can believe it. And seeing you and the work that you do, seeing the other women who you surround yourself with, seeing women in action in corporations, and seeing She Elevates helps them believe that they can be all that they can be.
Yeah.
And really takes us really back to where we started the conversation about girl power. Yes. DeLores Pressley, I salute you. I mean, I am just so impressed with and humbled by all that you're doing, legacy in action. action. You're creating it. It's going to live on. And we love you and appreciate all the work that you're doing. And I'm hoping that we can continue the conversation as you create incredible impact.
Thank you. Same to you. You're doing a great job at incredible impact yourself. Kudos to you too, Dr. Geneva.
I appreciate you and that. And like I said, we kindred spirits.
Yes.
Thank you so much for being on Ignite to Impact.
Thank you.
Ignite to Impact.